Welcome, everyone. Just want to check my audio here, make sure this is working. All right, it looks like it's working. So, welcome and hello. I'm Robert Aducci. I am the social media manager for Ulysses International. And I'm going to be running through the Dark Eye Vampire of Havena solo RPG book. You can get this adventure for pay what you want right now on Drive Through RPG, along with the Dark Eye core book and the Conspiracy of Mages solo adventure. So if you've got some time alone, like a lot of us right now, go ahead and go pick those up and check out the Dark Eye. So this adventure has everything you need to play the game. You don't need the core book for this adventure. It has everything in it. And I am real new to the setting and to the rules, so you can learn along with me. When we get to the point where we have to make decisions, go ahead and we'll talk about it in the chat. So go ahead and put your comments in the chat, and we will decide together what we're gonna do. So let's just get started. So this is the book. Here's a map of the town of Havena and some cool cover art, sepia cover art. This is one thing I like about all the Dark Eye books. They have like the continent of Aventuria here, and then they have like all these names in there, people that have, I guess, contributed or play tested. It's just a cool effect. I really like that. So let's start here. In this adventure, you control the actions of a true hero in the making. You make all the decisions and hold the hero's fate in your hands. The character provided with the Vampire of Havena is a rogue who was born and raised in the city of Havena. For a character sheet and more information about the profession of rogue, see page 59. So that's a good point to talk about. As you can see right here, I can click this link. So if you get this Vampire of Havena adventure, it comes with two PDFs, a kind of regular PDF, and then there's a linked PDF, which allows you to jump back and forth through the adventure, which is cool. You're welcome to use your own rogue as long as your character is a Havena native or at least knows a great deal about the city. For you will come across situations in play where your hero knows events, persons, or rumors that would be familiar only to locals or others who know the city well. For more information about Havena, the setting for this adventure, see page 58. Have fun playing the Vampire of Havena, and good luck finding the hidden cover descriptions. When you're ready to begin the adventure, read out of breath below. Before we do that, let's go check out the character. So this is, let's see, what is this? This is, I guess, about the rogue here. So rogues are the kings of crime. They're at once thieves, burglars, charmers, and rakes. The city's alleys are their home, and nobody knows its neighborhoods better. They know where to sell stolen goods or to buy forbidden items. The guards from their neighborhoods know them well and are often willing to turn a blind eye in exchange for a piece of silver. Fate can turn a rogue into a brave adventurer in many ways, and your character's career need not end with the Vampire of Havena. The following tips can help you on your way to further adventures in the Dark Eye. So there's some more other details. I don't know if we would necessarily need to read all of these. Looks like it says we've got some skills. We've got perception, pick locks, pickpockets, stealth, and streetwise are the bread and butter of the typical rogue. In addition, there are other skills you shouldn't forget, depending on your background and your focus. We will check that in a moment. Let's just look at the character sheet right now. So it's got, kind of standard stuff: gender, name, race, date of birth, age. Some of that's filled out because this is the default character. We'll come up with a name here in a moment. There's some advantages. Disadvantages are life points, stats. Let's see if it says our Here we go. Profession, rogue. Culture, the Midden Realm. We're a free character, and we were born in Havena. So given that, let us pick some names. Here are some names, some Albernian names. If you're in the chat right now, what do you think we should have as some names? So here are some names. First names, we'll just go with male. First names, Aiden, Belfion, Baron, Conlai, Connor, Kylan, Derek, Fairdwin, Elfwin, Fairwin, Finn, Glenier, Elaine, Lindwan, Meriden, Morgan, Mir. Anybody have any suggestions? Meriden. Rick suggests Meriden. Meriden sounds like a good one. Anyone else in there? There's only a few people in the chat right now, so let's go with Rick's suggestion of Meriden. So I've also got some dice, D20 and a D6, which is I think all we should need, and a piece of paper. I'm just gonna go ahead and write that down for our character name. So thanks, Rick. All right, let's get back up. I guess let's do a family name too. We've got a few of those down here. Let's go for Phidian, Meriden Phidian. All right, so we're gonna go back up to Out of Breath and start from here. Your lungs are burning, and the cold sea air makes the piercing pain even worse. You brace your hands on your knees and fight for air. Your hands. A bleeding wound crosses your right palm where you slip from the rope, and warm blood sticks to your fingers. You are not one to take law and order as seriously as the priests of the sun god would prefer, but you have never had trouble like this. Suddenly, you hear muffled footfalls on the wet pavement, boots stepping into puddles. Somebody is approaching the corner where you have paused. You can barely see 10 yards through the dense fog, and the muffled sound seems to come from far away. Weak lantern light shines down on you from the other side of the road. A dark shadow peels from the gray mist. If not for the omnipresent fog, you could find your way on this full moon night, but it's hard to see even the row of houses opposite you. This is not the first autumn full moon night you have spent in the harbor of Havena, but you cannot recall one this foggy. You have trouble seeing your pursuers or even where your next turn is, even where to turn next. You cannot trust your eyes, and you trust your ears even less. Sounds echo in the streets, a cat's mewling, an old raven's call, footfalls that seem to approach from all directions at once. So this shows 65, so we're going to click here, and it should transport us to 65. There we go. You're sure that the footfalls are approaching from the alley to your left. You don't want to run back, and you don't want to turn right into your pursuer's arms. So you have only two choices. You can run further down the street, or go to your right. So chat, what do you think we want to do? Do you want to go to the right or continue down the street? So this says sections with branches. Some sections give you choice as to how to proceed. In this case, your story continues either with section 181 or 129, depending on which course you choose. What do you think? I'm thinking we try to kind of turn away from them since they are coming from the left. Let's go ahead and go to the right. So we're going to do 129. Over there. The angry shout is followed by another, and your pursuer's footsteps change from a steady walk to a quick run. Time to get away. You ignore your burning muscles and the pain in your hips as you run down the side alley. At the end of the street, the neighborhood changes over to the simple huts of fishers. Nets are stretched out to dry between some houses, and coils of rope create tripping hazards in the slippery cobblestones. A short distance ahead, the road takes a sharp bend. Most of the huts are dark. But after you accidentally knock over a bucket, causing it to roll noisily through the alley, you get the feeling that some residents might be watching you now. You come to a cross street. Make an int check with a penalty of 2. If you succeed, turn to page 218. If you fail, turn to section 27. So these little sidebars here show how to do attribute and attribute, tell you what your attributes are, and how to do attribute checks. So when playing the Dark Eye, you make most of the decisions in this solo adventure. You decide where to go and what actions to take. Sometimes an action's outcome is uncertain. This is where the hero's attributes and skills come into play. We explain skill use later, but for now, let's just take a look at your hero's 8 attributes. They are courage, sagacity, charisma, intuition, dexterity, constitution, and strength. Each attribute has a value. The higher the value, the better the hero performs with that attribute. For example, a hero with a high strength and a low sagacity is strong, but not very smart. And a hero with a high intuition and low courage is sensitive, but cowardly. When an action's outcome is uncertain, you make an attribute check. In this case, you must determine whether the hero notices something. So the text instructs you to make an intuition check. If you are using the character provided in this book, which we are, your hero has an intuition of 14. To make an attribute check, roll one 20-sided die. If the result is less than or equal to your attribute's value, the check succeeds. If the result is greater than the attribute's value, your check fails. For example, some checks must apply bonuses or penalties. For example, this check suffers a penalty of 2. A penalty reduces the effective value of the attribute for the duration of the check, while a bonus raises the effective value of the relevant attribute. In this case, the penalty of 2 means that you must roll a 12 or less instead of the 14 you would otherwise normally need to succeed. Any result of higher than a 12 means that your check fails. Whether your check succeeds or fails determines which section you turn to next. All right. Rick, I just see you said straight. I'll try to give you guys a few more moments to decide since there's a bit of a lag. All right, here's my roll. I rolled a 16, so we failed that check. So we're probably going to slip. So it says if you fail, turn to section 27. You hurry down the street toward the crossing when suddenly you see a shadow in the fog. You try to step to the side, but you're not fast enough. Something hits you hard on the back of your head and you collapse. It's a miracle that you did not pass out. You roll onto your back and try to collect your wits. Standing over you is a tall woman who points her dagger at you angrily. Looking past the blade, you recognize the broad-shouldered, red-haired woman in her 30s, whom you saw just a while ago. She glares at you with an expression like a raging bull, and you know that you will not be able to avoid a melee. Unfortunately, she is most likely the better fighter. She tries to stab you again, but you dodge to the side and roll. You get back to your feet, but the woman presses the attack. You manage to draw your weapon just in time to ward off her next blow. After you survive one round of combat, turn to section 13. Section 113. So here are her stats here. She's a Thorwaller woman. And then here is combat. Let's see, yeah. So combat. The rules of the Dark Eye can handle complicated combats, but this solo adventure uses simplified rules. First of all, you're fighting against just one opponent. Who attacks first is clear. In this case, it's her. And there are no special maneuvers to worry about. Your hero is an inexperienced fighter, and your opponent has not received any special training either. Solo adventures differ from group adventures in that you roll the dice for all combatants. This is the added advantage of helping you to learn the rules. Fights usually last several combat rounds, but in this case you must turn to section 113 after just one round of combat. In other cases, one combat round leads to the next until a certain condition ends the battle or because one participant surrenders or dies. Let's concentrate on just this combat round for now. Each round has 2 phases, your opponent's attack and your attack. Note that both of you and your opponent have an attack stat, abbreviated AT, which is treated like an attribute, meaning you make an attribute check using the attack stat. If this check fails, your opponent's attack misses you, and the attack ends. If the check succeeds, the attack might injure you. When an attack succeeds, you can either parry it with your weapon or choose to dodge. To parry an attack, you need a successful check with your parry stat, abbreviated PA. If you wish to dodge instead, you need a successful check with your dodge stat, abbreviated DO. It's usually smarter to pick your best defense, the one with the highest stat. If you're using the sample character provided in this book, your best defense is parry. You'd roll 1d20. If you get a result of 9 or less, your parry succeeds and your hero avoids the blow. On a result of 10 or greater, her attack hits you. If the woman's attack hits you, your next roll to see how much damage her attack inflicts. From her stats, you can see that her weapon does 1d6 plus 1 damage, abbreviated DP. To determine the total DP inflicted by her attack, roll 1 6-sided dice and add 1 to the result. Even though you're not wearing armor, your clothes do offer some protection. Look for your protection rating, abbreviated PRO, on your character sheet. Subtract this pro from the damage result to get the net damage caused by the attack. Finally, subtract that amount from your life points, abbreviated LP, on your character sheet. If pro ever reduces the damage result to 0 or less, the target takes no damage from the attack. Characters die when their life points are reduced to 0 or less. After a fight, survivors must often wait for wounds to heal, usually by resting, drinking healing potions, or by seeking treatment. Rules for healing appear later in the adventure. The second half of the combat round follows the same pattern, except that now it's your turn to attack. Does your attack succeed? If not, your half of the combat round ends. If yes, your opponent must defend herself. Roll 1d20 for her check with PA or DO. If it succeeds, the combat round ends. If that fails, roll your damage. 1d6 plus 4 is indicated by the weapon listed in your character sheet. Subtract your opponent's pro, 1 in this case. From this roll, you get the final damage. If the net DP is higher than 0, subtract that number from your opponent's LP. Normally, at this point, the next combat round would begin, but in this case, it's different. After finishing one round of combat, we'll go to section 113. So for now, let's go ahead and do that. So she is going to attack us. Her attack stat is right here. It is 12. She's attacking with a dagger. So I'll roll for her. She attacks us with a 15, so she fails. Then we move to us. It said our attack. Let's see, was that here? It looks like I'm gonna have to go look at. We are on page 11. So our attack stat on our character sheet is let's see, maybe it's on the second page. Skills, attribute modifiers, combat. So we've got a whole bunch of things here. Here we got close combat, dagger or saber. So we'll attack with our saber. Our attack is 13 right here. So we will go ahead and roll our dice. And we got a 10, so we hit her. All right, so she's going to get a chance to parry. Let me just roll. I can't remember what the number was right now, but I'll just roll. And a 9, that might be it. So let's see what our damage would be. D6 plus 4. Let's go back up to where we were. So it says... Oops. I thought we were on page 11. Oh, that's only 8. So it says that her parry is a 7, and her dodge is a 7 also. So I rolled a 9, so she fails. So I'm going to do full damage on her, D6 plus 4. And I rolled a 6, so she's going to take 10 points of damage. Her life points are 31. So we are still in combat. She took 10. So she's still at 21. But that is the first round of combat. So we've survived one round of combat, and now we're going to go to section 113. It says, after you've exchanged a single blow, the Thorwaller steps on an especially slippery cobblestone. The momentum of her attack combined with the slippery surfaces cause her to stumble forward. You cannot hide your bold grin at seeing the startled expression on her face. You avoid the dagger easily and sidestep to let the woman slide past you. Without a sound, she smashes into a barrel that sways, falls, and buries her in a mountain of stinking fish. It's a great piece of art. The scene is quite funny, but you remember that there are at least 2 more pursuers after you. Do you clear out, or do you linger, unable to resist saying something humorous, which you just made up? So, what do you guys think we should do? Should we clear out, or stay here and say something snarky to her? What do you think? I'm thinking, I mean, I think it would be funny to say something snarky to her. So let's see what the chat has to say. We'll give it a few moments for you guys to catch up here. So as I said, this is my first time playing the Dark Eye. I've read some of the books, but never really played. So if I make any mistakes, feel free to let me know in the chat because I appreciate learning. Rick says to run, so we seem to be at odds. But we'll go with the chat. So we're gonna go ahead and run. We clear out. So we're going to 166. You remind yourself to be careful as you sprint down the alley. Even though luck was on your side tonight and nobody was harmed, well, besides a few dead fish, you cannot afford to be careless. Aventuria is a dangerous place. It might have many princesses to save, and even less treasure to find. At least that is how it seems to you, especially when you consider your always empty purse. But there are probably lots of dragons guarding their gold hoard's jealousy. You've never seen a real dragon, but you know they are real, just as you believe in the 12 gods. And of those, Fex, the Lord of Thieves, has always been your favorite. You have never seen him manifest. How could you, since he lives among the other gods in a splendid place called Alvaran? But you can always feel him near you. Fex supports those who are cunning and knows how to help themselves. You always had a knack for helping yourself, even though you have rarely left Havena's harbor district. You have certainly never seen the mysterious Undercity, which is rumored to conceal demon-worshipping cults. It is a known refuge for the enchanting green and blue-skinned merfolk, and you have heard many tales of sea monsters inhabiting the Undercity too. Several years ago, the city guard drove a living sea serpent away from there, or so you have been told. You realize that you've heard much more about the world than you've seen yourself. The Empress, she lives in a remote Gareth, capital of the Midden Realm. Mages, they're supposed to live everywhere, but magic is forbidden in Havena. So, do you know if you have ever met one? And so you do not know if you've ever met one. Dwarves, people say that they exist too, but they live in dark mines beneath giant mountains and cannot swim. It's no wonder then that they avoid the harbor. Elves, witches, mermaids, well, so here is a bunch of terms that we might not be familiar with. So it says Aventurian terms. The Dark Eye is set in Aventuria, a fascinating continent brimming with adventure. The land's many kingdoms use many currencies and measurements. There are gods, mystical creatures, and famous personalities, each with their own names or special terms. If you encounter a term you don't recognize, don't worry. Most terms appear more than once, and their meaning should become clear from context. Some Aventurian terms, such as the names of gods, are explained where they occur, while others are summarized here. The harbor city of Havena is part of the Midden Realm, a traditional feudal kingdom with a temperate climate. For currency, people use ducats, silver thalers, hollers, and kreutzers. 1 ducat is 10 silver dollars, which equals 100 hollers and 1,000 kreutzers. Cantors are trading posts owned by foreign merchants. They are part headquarters, part warehouse, and part showroom, and sometimes even part residence, depending on the owning family's preference. Midden-realmers measure distances in feet, yards, and midden miles. 1 midden mile is equal to 1 kilometer. Believers in the 12 gods do not normally use the word sun. Instead, they tend to refer to that hot glowing object in the sky as Prios' disk or Prios' eye, in honor of Prios, the lord of the gods. Similarly, people normally refer to the moon as Mata's sign, or a variant thereof. All right, so let's go to 94. You suddenly find yourself at a dead end. A 9-foot wall rises up in front of you, and you hear footfalls echoing through the streets behind you. There is only one way out of here. You must climb the wall. Luckily, somebody left a wooden crate nearby. It looks sturdy enough to support your weight while you try to climb. Make a climbing walls check. Courage, agility, and strength. If you succeed, go to 149. If we fail, go to 6. So to make skill checks, besides the 8 attributes, your hero also has a list of skills. Whenever you attempt a skill, you must make a skill check to see if you succeed. Incidentally, the procedure described below also applies to casting spells of a mage or performing the miracles of a blessed one, but neither of these appear in this adventure. To make a skill check, you need a skill. It's skill rating, SR for short. and the values of each of that skill's 3 associated attributes. In this case, you're trying to climb. If you're using the character provided with this adventure, your climbing SR is 6. So our skill rating is 6. The 3 attributes that go with your climbing skill are courage, agility, and strength. And you must make an attribute check for each. Remember, a skill check succeeds if you roll less than or equal to the relevant attribute on a d20. Failed checks are a problem, but they don't automatically mean that you failed the skill. To help achieve successes with skill checks, you have a pool of skill points that you can deduct from rolls that are too high. The pool of skill points available for each skill is equal to that skill-specific SR. For example, if your character's climbing skill SR is 6, you have 6 skill points that you can spend for this skill check. Now, let's say that your hero has a courage of 10, but you roll a 12, which is 2 points greater than your attribute. By spending 2 points of your skill points for that skill, you turn the failure into a success. If you fail any more rolls in this skill check, you can continue spending skill points until you run out. If at any time you do not have enough skill points to adjust a failed roll into a success, the skill check fails. If you succeed at all 3 rolls, whether or not you had to spend skill points to do so, you succeed at the skill. Note that the next time that you must make the same skill check again, your entire pool of skill points is available again. So again, we're going to go climb. So let's just go look at our character sheet. And we are, again, on page 29. I need to reference that again. And then we're going to go to our character sheet. So we're going to go down here and zoom in a bit so you can see. So we're going to look for climbing. That's right here. Oops. Oh, that did not. All right. I'm just trying to highlight this one section here. All right. It's not going to let me. But here's climbing. So it says our courage, agility, and strength. E and C. I assume that would be some sort of encumbrance. IMP and SR. Not sure what IMPR means. Something about improvement, which we'll figure out at some point. And our SR is 6. So we know that. So we're looking for courage, agility, and strength. I'm going to pick up 3 dice of 3 different colors. Courage is red. Agility is blue. And strength is gold. So I'm going to actually use blue, green, and gold here. And so we'll see what we get. Sorry, red, green, and gold. So my red, I got a 1, which is great. That means I rolled below it. My agility, I got a 3, which means I rolled below it. And my strength, I got a 4, which means I rolled below it. So this is great. You know, it's definitely different to be rolling low. But I rolled 3 really low numbers, so that's great. So I succeeded in our climbing check, and I didn't have to use any of my skill points to do so. So we succeeded. Yay. So we've succeeded. We're going to page 149, or section 149. With the grace of a cat, you jump to a crate, and from there to the wall. Using your momentum to carry you up, you swing your legs like a pendulum and wind up sitting on the wall, which is much wider than it looked. You look down from where you're sitting and think you see a sparkling surface of a body of water. A channel on the other side of the wall is probably too narrow to navigate, but definitely too wide to jump. Running along the wall seems to be your only option for escape. To your right, the coping ends at a 3-story warehouse. Its unwelcoming outer wall offers almost no handholds. To your left, the wall extends so far that its end is lost in the gray of the fog. You notice a second wall that meets yours at a right angle. Behind that wall, you would gain at least some temporary shelter from your pursuers, even though it's only a few bricks wide. Before anybody can see you, you balance at the top intersection of the 2 walls. One more step. Make another check using climbing walls, this time with a bonus of 3. If you succeed, turn to section 203. If you fail, turn to 207. So skill checks with bonuses. A skill check with a bonus is almost the same as an unmodified skill check. The only difference is that the bonus increases the effective value of all 3 attributes for the duration of the check. The climbing walls check is made as before, but this time the relevant attributes each count as 3 greater. All right, so that's great. So let's go back and check where we're at. Page 41 again. And let's go to our character sheet. And again, our climbing is courage, agility, and strength. So let's see. Oh, this one, not so good. So we've got 6 points to spend, but I don't think they're going to help us because my courage is only 10, and I get +3, I think it said. So that's 13. However, I rolled an 18. So that's going to use up 5 of my skill points. So I only have 1 left. And then my agility comes up, and I rolled an 18 also. So that is going to be... I need to spend 3 skill points there. And then my strength, I rolled a 16. So I would need to spend 6 points there. So I fail as I'm trying to climb or trying to balance on this. That is not good. So let's jump back to where we need to be here. So we failed. So we're turning to page 72. You struggle to take a few more steps, but then lose your balance. You throw yourself forward to get over the protective brick wall, but realize too late that your landing will probably hurt. Make a body control jumping check, agility, and con, with a penalty of 4. So we're at -4 now. And then if we succeed or fail, so skill checks with penalties. A skill check with penalty works almost like an unmodified skill check. The only difference is that the penalty decreases the effective value of all 3 attributes for the duration of the check. In this instance, the body control jumping check is made as before, but this time the relevant attributes each count as 4 lower. So let's go look at our sheet. So we need agility, and con. And our agility is 15. So we need 15, and 12 with -4s. So we're going to be at 11, and 8. And our body control jumping is 7. So we've got 7 skill points to spend here. So let's see what we get. And this time, so before I was kind of rolling with colored dice. I have some colored dice here. And so I was using them on as you can see on the character sheets, they have colored circles. This time I'm going to use, there's another way that I saw you could roll, that you just roll and basically go from one direction to the other. So I'm just going to go from left to right, agility, and con. So let's see what I got here. I've got a 17, an 8, and a 4. So the 17 fails by 6 points, so I can spend those 6 points. I've only got 1 left. The 8 succeeds. I needed an 11 on that second agility roll. And then the con, I needed an 8, and I rolled a 4. So I succeeded. I was able to spend 6 of my skill points to make one of the failures a success. The other 2 succeeded, so I succeed in that check. So let's go back here. So we succeeded as we smash into the ground. You hit the soft grass with your feet and do a graceful shoulder roll. Luckily, you did not land on the cobblestones just a few feet away. Vex helps those who know how to help themselves. You pick yourself up and disappear through the gap between 2 houses. So here we are on section 170. Maybe I should avoid running through the narrow alleys in the dark, you think to yourself, just as you leave the alley. Another shadow rushes towards you. This one larger than the other shadow, which provided to be the Thorwaller. Something hits your head hard, and you black out. Uh-oh. 33. Earlier this evening. The Disc of Prios set an hour ago. Remember, the Disc of Prios is the sun. So the Disc of Prios set an hour ago. But given the dense fog that has been drifting through the alleys of Havena, the largest port city in western Aventuria, since this morning, you would not even have noticed. You can barely see the other side of the street in this fog, and you would probably have crashed into some bystander if you had been out wandering in the alleys. In the past, you would have tried to use this opportunity to steal purses from the unwary, or pull a precious ring from a finger. But your years in the alleys of the city have taught you to be more careful. When you cannot judge the mark, you cannot judge the risk, and you cannot afford to pay with your life because you tried to steal a few lousy silver dollars from a dangerous thug. Not in these times. A shiver runs down your back, even though you are sitting in a warm tavern next to a crackling fireplace. The stifling air and the heat emanating from the 36 guests of the Hero's Refuge only add to the warmth. Hero's Refuge, you muse. When was the last time there were heroes in here? You do not have the answer, but it must have been quite some time ago. Heroes protect other people, face dangers, and become rich and famous. But there never have been famous heroes in the Hero's Refuge. If anybody had made Havena's alley safe for families, you would know. No, these are dangerous times, and although you would never admit it, fear of the danger lurks in the streets. Fear of the danger lurking in the streets is what made you stay indoors tonight. 4 weeks ago, a dead mermaid was found in the harbor. You had never seen one of the green-skinned fish people before, partially because the shy sea creatures live in the swamps of the Undercity and tend to avoid humans. The whole neighborhood was upset when one of them was found floating in the harbor. The fish people bury their dead by setting them to drift towards the city during high tide. Old Grona said that she had never encountered a mermaid so far up the river that it could be seen from the city. By the time the guard pulled the dead mermaid from the water, half of the neighborhood had gathered around. The healer that was called to the scene and the local priest of Efford both confirmed that she had 2 circular stab wounds in her neck, although she had appeared uninjured at first. People said that she must have been bitten by some strange animal. Less than a week later, another corpse was found in the water, this time a red-haired human woman who was not yet 20 years old. Her skin was pale as chalk, and those who saw the body swore that there wasn't a drop of blood left in her. The 2 circular stab wounds in her neck seemed to fit with the story about an animal attack. A third corpse turned up in a side alley close to the Hero's Refuge, having been stuffed into a large barrel. This time the victim was a male elf. Elves are not well liked in the harbor district, as everybody knows that it is bad to have an elf aboard a ship. The guards sent for a blessed one of Hesinde, who confirmed that the elf's body had been drained completely of blood. He too had 2 puncture wounds in his neck. Rumors began to spread after the blessed one explained that he could imagine no natural animal or monster that caused such wounds and drank blood. Some talked about a madman who massacred his victims brutally. Others speculated that a circle of cultists was performing human sacrifices in the Undercity and throwing their victims into the harbor. A short time later, people began to think that a ring of slavers, probably from far away Al-Anfa, where slavery is common, was killing escapees as a warning to others. Now most people are sure that there can only be one explanation for the strange findings. A vampire is preying upon the innocents in the streets of Havena. You shiver and look around cautiously. The smell of the tavern indicates clearly how many people have been in the vampire's existence. The smell in the tavern indicates clearly how many people believe in the vampire's existence. Besides the nasty smell of sailors, the typical mixture of seawater and sweat, a hint of urine, the fragrance of cheap booze, and the smell of vomit under the next table, this place smells mostly of garlic. Not just here, but in the whole neighborhood, people are afraid, and superstitious sailors are buying up talismans and other good luck charms. Looks like here's our tavern. A red-headed Thorwaller woman stands out from the crowd. Her clothes match those worn by employees of local contours, except that she wears her shirt open a bit to reveal her cleavage. 2 long wooden stakes connected by a piece of rope dangle from her belt, and the silver chain around her neck must have cost her a large part of her income. You can understand her caution. Not a week ago, a second red-haired woman was found in the harbor. Like the others, she had 2 puncture wounds in her neck, and her body had been drained of blood. This event caused a greater commotion than before because 2 inquisitors from the Church of Prios demanded to examine the body. It's well known that elves can use magic, but a new rumor suggested that these 2 women had been witches. And for a while, people talked about a mystical or demonic avenger that wanted to rid the city of magically gifted creatures. Others think that the inquisitors themselves are to blame. Some talked about a divine curse, a miracle, or even a disease that causes magic users to kill themselves. One variant attributes the deaths to an experimental treatment by a healer who is a brilliant, ruthless, daring, or simply mad. The kind of healer Havena has not seen since the days of Archon Megalon. Maybe the Dark Druid has returned and is casting new and terrible spells on his victims. Your head begins to spin with dark thoughts, and this after you came to the refuge to chase dark thoughts away. You decide that perhaps a little socializing will help. There are many sailors in the common room. Most of them are local men and women who earn their living as fishers or deckhands. Half a dozen pilots sit in the corner, passing a jug of spirits around and using the bad weather as an excuse to get drunk, since no ship would dare navigate the delta of the Green River in this fog. At another table, some sailors are gambling with dice. An old sailor woman gets up to leave, and you could take her place, if we want to go to 192. When you look around to find other ways to amuse yourself, you notice that the red-haired Thorwaller woman sitting at the counter with a tankard staring thoughtfully into her beer. The seat to her left is free, and she seems to be unaccompanied. If we want to do that, we can go to 86. Two old city guards, Trode Pete Cutter and Ulrich Blighter, sit across from the empty seat. You're sure that you haven't given them a reason to look for you recently, and even if there was a reason, they wouldn't care during their free time. These two are not known for their eagerness to work overtime, but they are known for telling interesting stories if someone gives them some silver dollars or picks up their tab. So if we want to do that, we can go to 154. So let me know what you want to do. We can go take the place of the sailor woman. We can sit next to the red-haired woman, which seems to be the woman that we had some issues with before. Although this seems to be earlier than that. Or we can go talk to the two guards. So what do you guys think we should do? I think either of them sound, any of those sound pretty interesting. Looks like we've got about 20 minutes left. We're going to stop at noon Pacific time. And we will... When we finish, we will start again on Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time as well. So again, if you are in the chat, let us know what you want to do. We can take the place of this sailor woman, talk to the red-haired woman, or sit next to the red-haired woman, or talk to these two guards. Rick wants to talk to the red-haired woman. So let's see. Anyone else have a preference? All right, let's do that then. So the seat to her left is free. All right, Drank says, yep, chat up the red-haired woman. So here we go, going to 86. All right, you sit down gallantly next to the Thorwaller, flash your warmest smile, and turn confidently towards the pretty woman, only to see how much a mix of anger and scorn can change a face. Her expression makes you swallow what would have been your charming opening. The woman turns away determinedly, and you are stung by her wordless rebuff. You could talk to the guards sitting across from you, 154, or go over to the people playing dice. There's still one seat open. So she didn't really care for our presence. So what do we want to do? Talk to the guards or go to the people playing dice? I like how this adventure is kind of slowly walking us through, through the things we need to do. One thing that was interesting, rolling the 3 dice for skill checks, seems complicated, but kind of gives some nuance. I could see when you're playing a game with a game master, how rolling the 3 dice could give some nuance to those results. Like if you failed one of your agility checks, that says one reason why you failed something, or if you failed the con check, that gives a different reason why you might have failed or succeeded. So I think that's gives some cool nuance to those dice rolls. So it looks like people wanted to check out the dice, and Rick says, yeah, it walks you through the lore, which is cool too. So yeah, that's interesting to kind of teach you a bit, so when you do actually play an in-person game, maybe you can can be up and ready. So we go over to the people playing dice. 192. We place Velt Valley Dice Bolton, a toothless sailor, explains to you, noisily slobbering, a mixture of spit and chewing tobacco on the table. The stake is $1 silver per round. He looks at you dismissively and adds, cheaters go swimming in the harbor basin with a rock tied to their feet. Do you understand? Do you nod and sit down, or would you prefer to move on? If so, the red-haired woman is talking with an older man, but you could sit down and chat with the guards. So, do we want to sit down, or go back and chat with the guards? I mean, we're here, right? We might as well sit down, I think. What do you think? The art in this is real great too. I've been liking everything I see so far. Obviously, we're not to this point yet. I don't know where this chicken coop is, but I'm sure we'll come to it at some point. So what do you think? Should we sit down? Yeah, let's play. Let's do it. All right. The game is not as simple as you had hoped, but you have mastered games that are more complicated. In essence, you roll 5 dice without showing the results and declare a number of pips, and the number of dice that show that number. The person to your left must either raise the number of pips with any number of dice, or the number of dice, or challenge the last person's result. If the challenger calls correctly, the target player loses 1 die. If not, the challenger loses the die. If you are the last person with a die under your cup, you win the round and the pot. As it turns out, you lose the first 5 rounds against the other 5 players, but you win the 6th, having neither won nor lost any money, while you are learning the rules and devising a strategy. The other players are a ragtag bunch. The toothless sailor takes the role of referee, watching the other players to make sure they play according to the rules. To his left sits a female Tulamidian sailor, who comments on everyone's moves with a flowery language. She describes a mistake that you made in the first round as bitter as the fermented milk of an old Kabaka goat. But she labels your win in the 6th round a wonder of divine providence, filled with terror and mystery. Her comments can be quite tiresome, but sometimes they are amusing. The 2 fishermen seated next to each other are brothers. They bicker all the time, accusing each other of cheating, and try constantly to outshine each other. Luckily for all of you, they concentrate on just one opponent at a time, which hinders their play. The older woman sitting to your right has much more luck, though it appears she intends to trade her luck in play for luck in love. She uses any excuse to side closer to you and touch your hand or pat your knee, and you have trouble fending off her advances. Her unique blend of sweat and halitosis alone serves as ample motivation, even though it's getting harder to be polite. At one point, you almost fall out of your chair, and she laughs coyly. Darling, why so shy? She coos. I am not the Vampire of Havena. With a chuckle, she reaches for her jug of mead. Don't be so loud, you careless cross of camel and donkey, the Tulamidian hisses quietly but angrily. It is unlucky to mention evil by name. This dampens the table's mood quickly. Even the brothers stop arguing about the hidden dice they claim to have seen in each other's boots. I do not believe there is a vampire, the old man to your left says with conviction. I saw the dead mermaid and the second red-haired woman of this and the second-haired victim of this vampire. Since when do vampires drink the blood of sea creatures? The brothers nod in agreement, their heads bobbing with such synchronicity that it looks like they share the same neck. The smelly sailor woman disagrees, however. Who says that vampires do not like the blood of fish people? She says. I like beef, but I only get to eat it once or twice a year. 2 witches, a mermaid, and an elf. This vampire must have exotic tastes. That is why I do not fear him. I am about as exotic as Saltarell in Nostria. The brothers nod again, while the 2 women at the table try to hide a chuckle. The old sailor remains skeptical. Who says those women were witches, he asks. Please, one of the brothers interrupts. 2 redheads? If they were not witches, I am the stupid one in my family. That you are, his brother agrees, and the 2 exchange menacing glares. The sailor intones. Let us hope that we are safe here. Whatever it is we should be afraid of it. I have seen much on my travels, and fear seems an appropriate reaction. Fear and caution. Your fellow players agree with a murmur. The two median grabs up her dice and turns it in her hand. Grabs up her dice cup, turns it in her hand, and slams it on the table, shouting, "Let's play! You want to continue playing or say goodnight?" What do you think? And are we thinking it's a vampire or something else? So if we want to continue playing, we'll go to 51, or if we say goodnight, we go to 162. I mean, I think we should keep playing. We're here, right? That's what we're here for. What do you think, Rick? What do you think, Planar Crossroads and Drenisk? Planar Crossroads is to keep playing. And now that I'm sitting here with some quietness, next time I will put on one of the soundtracks that we have for the Dark Eye as kind of background music. So people are saying keep playing, so let's do that. We keep playing. 51. You toss a silver dollar onto the table, grab the dice cup, and make the dice dance. Make a check using gambling dice, sagacity, and intuition, with a penalty of 2. If you are successful, turn to page 98, or turn to section 98. If not, section 36. So we're going to be -2, and we're gambling. So let's go see, and we are on page 21, so we can get back here. All right, character sheet. So our gambling, let's see. Gambling, sagacity, intuition. So 12, and 14. So we're going to roll it again, left to right, just to make it a little easier, I think. So I rolled a 16, a 13, and an 18. I don't think this is looking good. So I'm -2. So I'm actually 10, and 12. My gambling is 7. So we have 7 points. So I rolled a 16. That's going to be a -6. So I only have 1 more point. My next roll is a 13, and I needed a 10. So I'm going to need 3 more points. So I do not have enough. So we fail our roll. We fail our gambling check. So let's get back here. Where do we go? So we failed right here. We are turning to section 36. They must like having us play. You realize that you cannot win the round and must watch as your wager vanishes into somebody else's pocket. Deduct a silver dollar from your character sheet. I'm going to make a note here. If you have at least 1 silver dollar left, you can play 1 more game. So this is number 36 and page 17. All right, let's see. I don't know how much we have. Silver dollars. Skills, languages, combat abilities, life points, silver dollars. We've got 5, so now we've got 4. Do we want to continue to play, or are we going to call it a night? What do you guys think? So we're going to go page 17, number 36. We have more money, so we can continue to play if we want. We can play another game, or we can finish up and say goodnight. What do you think? What's this game called? Svelte Valley Dice. Kind of like Liar's Dice, which is a fun game if you ever played that. So should we keep playing, give it another chance, or call it a night? Rick says to keep playing. Let's do it. Go back to 51. You toss a silver dollar on the table, grab the dice, and make the dice dance. Let's give it a go. So again, we need 10, 10, 12, and we have 7 gambling. Let's see what we got. So we've got a 3, which is good. So we succeed on the first one. The second one is a 12, so that's going to cost us 2 of our 7. We've got 5 for the next one. And then I rolled a 17. We were at 12, so that's exactly what we needed. So we succeed. Yeah. All right, so we succeed. We're going to section 98. Victory! You win. You gleefully take the 6 silver dollars from your center of the table. After subtracting your bet, you find you have won 5 silver dollars. Add 5 silver dollars to your character sheet, so we now have 9. And then cross off an empty circle in this section. So it looks like we can click to say that we've got, we've succeeded once. If you have only crossed off the first or second circle, you can play one more round or say goodnight, grinning contentedly. If you've crossed off the third circle, turn to section 207. If you've crossed off the fourth circle, turn to section 120. So sections cross off kind of tells us what to do here. So one or more circles often appear after some section numbers. Whenever you visit such a section, cross off the next available circle. This record reminds you that you have visited that section before. If you return to the section, follow the directions. Cool. I like that. So once again, what do we want to do? Do we want to keep playing or say goodnight? I mean, I think we want to keep playing, right? I'm just going to go and decide. We've only got about 5 minutes left, so let's play another round. So again, we have to make our checks, and since we're making these again, but our skill points, our skill rating kind of resets every time. So let's see what we got this time. I rolled a 6, an 8, and an 8. So again, we succeed. Yeah. All right. We succeed to 98. So we win again. We get 5 more silver dollars. So we're up to 14 silver dollars now. All right. Here we go. What do we want to do? Do we want to continue on? Since we're on the second one, it says if you've only crossed the first or second circle, you can play one more round. So we've done 2 now. So let's do it. I'm going to say let's go again. Let's press our luck. All right. I rolled a 1, which is that's a like a critical success. I forget what you get. I think you get like fate points in the game if you do that, if I recall. Or maybe you have to roll exactly. I can't remember. One of those 2. But I got a 1, a 10, and a 7. So again, we succeed, and we're gonna get. Let's see. We're successful. So we go back to 19 or 98, and so we got the third one. So we've crossed off the third circle. So we get 5 more. So we're at 19 silver dollars, and now we go to section 207. So let's see what happens in 207. Something strange is going on here, the old man grumbles. His neighbor leans over and whispers in his ear, and he seems to calm down. You cannot tell which angers him more, your good luck or his bad luck. He has not won a round since you sat down at the table. Do you want to avoid the mood at the table and leave? We'll go to 162, or risk one more round. So I think this is a good place to stop. Let's pick it back up here on Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and we will decide if we want to avoid the mood at the table and leave, or to risk one more round. All right, so this has been really cool. Thank you, everybody that has joined me. Rick, Planar Crossings, and Drenesk. I appreciate you guys supporting Ulysses. And again, if you want to play this adventure and to play the Conspiracy of Mages and to pick up the Dark Eye core rules, you can go to DriveThruRPG and you can pick up all of them pay what you want. So if you can't afford it right now, that's fine. Just go ahead and pay what you want, and even if you can't afford it now but then you think you can afford it later, you can go back and you can raise your amount, so you can end up paying if you really enjoy it. So go ahead and do that. Also go check out at ulysses-us.com. You can there's an article where we talk about this, but there's a bunch of other stuff too. So if you want to play the Dark Eye on Fantasy Grounds, there's free extensions there. There's and there are several other things that we're offering for free or discounted. So check those out. So thanks again, and we will see everyone on Friday. Have a good day. Bye.